Welcome to week 7. We're now coming into the business end of this 10-week series, and I've only achieved 2 of my 19 goals, so I really need to start picking it up and achieving more goals. If you're new to this series, I highly recommend you click here to start at week 1. Some of you guys were asking, where's the strength training gone? I explained this in previous episodes, but to quickly recap, this series is purely for my gymnastics training. I am simultaneously doing bodyweight strength and Olympic lifting training separately. However, if I were to try and show all my different training at once, it would just be very confusing as they don't necessarily apply to each other. So this is specifically a series about my gymnastics training. Strength is obviously very important in gymnastics, as you do need to be exceptionally strong, particularly on the rings. Though my only strength goal for this series was the planche. If you want to see my strength training in its entirety, check out the bodyweight workout series. For those of you who absolutely love bodyweight strength training, as I obviously do, we've just launched a Kickstarter for the next Stronger Bodyweight workout series. It's going to be on a whole new level. Check out the video to see what I'm talking about. It goes through everything such as why we do what we do, and even some of the limited edition rewards that are available. Please get involved. Every little bit helps, and I can guarantee that you'll be very proud to be part of this epic series. We've got 2 questions this week. The first one's from Eric Livermore. It's quite a long question, so I'll just condense it to the essential parts. Hey, handsome. Well, thank you, mate. Yeah. I'm only able to hold a handstand for more than 5 seconds if I significantly planche it. Any tips for drills and programming? Of course I've got tips for you, mate. The main part of the handstand really is just practice. So just keep doing it. Make sure you also keep filming yourself to analyze your shape, because it's very important that you're practicing the right technique. And the easiest way to check that is if you film yourself, you can see if your back is arched or something's going wrong. Variety is also great, so try different exercises here and there. That will ensure that you don't plateau. For me, and this applied to my rings handstand in particular, I started by doing a small planche on the rings, and I would slowly press that towards a handstand. If you try and press it quickly, you'll likely flip over. So the key for me was to slowly press it towards that handstand shape and holding it closer and closer to handstand until I had my shoulders as open as they could go. That worked really well for me, so give that a try yourself and I hope you get the same results. Click here to check out our handstand tutorial. It covers everything you need to know about having a rock solid handstand. No name Gorilla 0204 Johnson. That's a very random name, mate. Is your nickname Gorilla 0204 or something? He asks, hey Lachlan, have you ever dealt with costochondritis or inflammation of the sternum cartilage? If so, how'd you deal with it? I actually have had that, and I got it when I first started training for the Iron Cross. Now, for anyone that doesn't know, basically it feels like tendinitis in the sternum cartilage right here, so it's just an uncomfortable feeling, and generally you get it when you tense your pecs. I look at this simply as tendinitis. So I treat it the exact same way I would treat any other type of tendinitis. The way you treat this is quite intuitive. You'll need to work around that pain by avoiding any exercise that aggravates that. So don't stop training altogether, but just avoid any exercise where you can feel that same discomfort. After 2 to 4 weeks, come back to training it. Start with those exercises slowly, see how they feel. If there's any pain, again, stop and wait another 1 or 2 weeks. If there's no pain, you can start to build up slowly. I'd also recommend when you're back to training it, every 4 to 6 weeks, cycle the difficulty. So that way you're not pushing yourself to failure every session. That's generally how you get that kind of tendinitis. If you had any other questions, leave them below and I'll answer them next week. Again, due to restricted gym availability this week, I wasn't able to train at Olympic Park on Saturday and Sunday as I usually would. Let's jump straight into week 7. I started off today's session working shoulder press on parallettes. I chose the lowest parallettes that I could find to make this as similar as possible to the shoulder press on floor. I'm contracting my legs towards my body as hard as possible, and even then they brush the floor. I need to improve this compression in order to achieve the shoulder press goal. All I can say about this first attempt is unacceptable. One thing that I wasn't aware of at the time was that I should be pulling my shoulders open before coming over the top of the bar. As always, I'm working on hitting a handstand position in these front giants. Each successive giant is getting closer, though it's still not enough. Unfortunately, with these top changes, I'm still not hitting a good enough position to justify holding on for the swing out. I need to keep my feet together, open my shoulders more, and hold a dish body shape on the swing out. I should also pivot faster. I started pommel working on circles. The main aspect I need to improve is keeping my feet together at all points in the circle. Checks were a little better today, though I still need to get into the habit of always planting my left hand on the handle, rather than how I sometimes put it on the leather. One thing that makes it hard to have a consistent check is my circles. They themselves aren't consistent in terms of body shape. I was pretty frustrated with the lack of progress on these today. I'm still working really hard on eliminating the pike from the front of the loop. The foam block on the pommel is to give me something to stretch for. A really useful tip Charles gave me was to throw my hips to the right at the start of the circle, rather than just simply throwing my hips forwards and over the pommel. Just thinking about this hip action alone gave me a much better body position. I just need to push through my arms more while they're behind me. Again, I warmed up with some dive rolls before moving on to front layout. Front layout was awful today. I just wasn't thinking about it right.
Yeah, I just want to see you get consistent.
We finished today's session with this strength circuit on rings. This style of circuit is very different to how I usually train strength. I normally do very difficult exercises just 3 to 5 times, so they're short but intense sets. This circuit was composed of skills that I don't find particularly challenging, though having them all in direct succession makes for a fun challenge.
Do you want it?
Chocolate croissant.
Yeah, I think it is chocolate.
I want it.
You can fight over it when you're finished.
I'm not eating it. I'll have it. I'll have it. They don't want it. I'll have it. Oh, I want it so badly. I'm not eating it. Just take it. Let's go. The only person I have is birthday.
Good. Sit up. Sit up. Up one. Down. There. That's it.
Since I decided to start training flares twice a day, I started training them inside my house, which was a little awkward as I'm worried that I'll kick something. This is what I have to do to train it twice a day, every day. I'm now getting quite frustrated with flares. I've been training them so much throughout this series, and recently, I don't seem to be getting any better. I feel like I need to think about doing something slightly differently, though what this is, I don't currently know. I'm definitely not getting enough extension through my right shoulder during these flares. As frustrating as this constant failure is, persistence is the key. There's been no noticeable improvement in splits this week. This is also quite frustrating given how often I've been stretching. Based on this rate of progress, it seems very unlikely that I'll achieve full splits before the end of this series. Once again, it's in these demoralizing times that it's particularly important to be persistent.
You almost done, man?
Yeah, I'm done.
Vault was great today. These are some of the best vaults I've ever done, and I'm now starting to almost over-rotate even onto these high mats. I found it very beneficial to stack the mats up like this, as it just forces you to go higher in your vault. I realised, thanks to Charles, I need a lot more heel drive on the front handspring, and I'll be focusing on this in future. I warmed up ring bales onto mats again. These are now extremely comfortable and consistent. Again, I worked through this ring sequence before progressing to bale. I'm trying to work kip to L sit, so I shouldn't be dropping my feet during. The press to handstand is consistently improving, though I'm building it up to doing the press with completely straight arms. I should be inlocating my shoulders much earlier on these backswings, so I'm limiting this to allow my shoulder to continue to recover. This was the first inlocate I've done since the shoulder injury. There's a lot to improve, though I'm taking it a little easier in these early stages. I'm very happy with these rings bales. This was the first session that I went straight from bale onto the mats to the rings, without any other exercises in between. I did at least 10 bales today, and I also started working on the connection to inlocate. I was being cautious of my shoulder, though it was fine, so I'll push a little harder next time. I want to start getting the inlocate to inverted cross level, and then we'll try to work it back up to handstand. The bale will need to be improved a bit before the swing is good enough for this. I was very happy with my front toss on boxes. I caught about 80% of them today, which is far higher than ever before. Previously it was probably around 20%. It's becoming more subconscious. I'm not having to think about everything quite so much, which is exciting, and it makes the exercise more fun. So I'm just about to go to bed. It's about 5 AM. I've been noticing recently, on my arm here, you'll notice there's sort of a patch here without any hair. There's also a patch with no hair on my wrist, and it's on both arms. So I thought that was really weird, and then I figured it out today what it was. I've been doing this stretch every single day, 3 times in the morning and 3 times at night, and as you can see I rub my arm in both those exact places. I'm really trying to push both my forearm and also my wrist into the wall to really activate the muscles, pulling my shoulder backwards. Anyway, that's really weird that it's removed the hairs from my arm in those contact areas. I didn't expect that. I don't really care either, but it's just random. We started today on P-bars. I was nowhere near as nervous trying the front toss on the bars today, which is great. The body shape is slowly improving, though I'm certainly not comfortable yet. Every successive try, I was getting slightly more comfortable, and I was able to focus more on continuing to improve the shape. I need to block a lot more and drive the heels, and of course, not tuck at all. Dan was also working front toss with me. You can see he's got a better shape and is closer to catching it than I am. Frustratingly, I wasn't getting back up rise to handstand today, even with a spot. I made a good breakthrough, however. Just thinking about throwing my weight into the floor before driving up to a handstand really helps me to get that bounce. This resulted in me consistently getting to a handstand, although with a spot, and they were starting to feel more powerful each time. Swing half turn is getting higher every time I train it. The goal is, of course, to swing and turn above 45 degrees from handstand. As I get higher, I'm fighting more to keep my body tight and dish on the swing through. Currently I'm not pushing through my left shoulder enough, and I'm not fully completing the turn before swinging back through. Kip to handstand just wasn't making sense today. Each cast felt really slow and delayed. I was again working on the hand change while in handstand in preparation for the half turn out of the kip cast to handstand. By working the front half off the air floor into the pit, I had a little more time in the air to figure out the twist. These consistently improved to the point where I was starting to land square. For a bit of fun and to improve my power, I also trained some double fronts. I warmed up for front half with front somersault and then attempted front half onto a mat. Still unable to complete the turn properly, I took it to the trampoline to try and perfect the form. Even here, with the excessive height, I wasn't comfortably landing them square. I tried different arm motions, but haven't yet found a technique that works for me. Coach Sam gave some good commentary throughout some of these sets.
Lachlan's concentrating on opening his hips, his swings to get some height. Really pushing up, supporting over the supporting hand on the handle. Just controlling his weight, his positioning.
I am getting better at this drill, with the swing becoming smoother throughout, and I'm now consistently linking multiple swings. I need to get this to the point where it's a completely natural swing from one side to the other. In between my sets, Sam was playing around, linking as many checks together as possible. It's always great to see such skill, as it really motivates me to push myself harder. I spent 1 hour straight today working on loops. I really need to start improving on these if I'm to achieve the goal of 10 in a row. While watching me fail over and over again may not be the most interesting thing to watch, this is often part of learning and perfecting new skills. Hopefully you find these repeated failures motivating to just keep working through sticking points in your own training. Of course, I'd prefer to do loops over the handles as I would in competition. However, we decided I should spend more time working them without the handles. This way, I could focus more on fixing my shape and building up my consistency. I feel I was making progress, which was encouraging, though I also feel like I need to train these a lot more consistently in order to achieve 10 in a row by the end of the series. This has been a tough week, as despite all the effort I've been putting in, some skills like flares and splits don't seem to be improving. It's in these tough times that you really need to push yourself to keep trying and keep progressing. Next week, I narrow the focus of my training to a more limited selection of skills. Will this result in more specific progress? Find out next Thursday in week 8.
Look at this, Ken. What the f*** is he doing?
I need to go home and get some soup, Phil.